Superfoods are a trend that I hope don't disappear soon, but I don't think they can because everyone is on board with how much goodness and nutrients and how good you feel when you eat them. So I thought I'd see if I could fit as many as possible into one recipe. So I've got a super salad for you today with more than 13 ingredients that would be considered superfoods, so you know that you are going to be doing your body and mind well when you eat this. So I'm going to get my quinoa on to start this off because that's going to take a little while to cook. So that is going to be the base. So it's a high protein pseudo grain. Most people who are gluten-free and grain-free can eat this. So just give that a bit of a stir. Our second superfood is kale. About 60 different varieties are available. It might just be on trend for you in the last couple of years, but it is ancient, just like a lot of these other things. So there's recipes dating back 1,000 years that have got kale in them. First step I'm gonna do is just strip that stalk there. That makes good rabbit or chicken food if you've got them, or straight into the compost. So that is the first step. We may as well give our animals the superfoods as well, because then we're gonna get more or better quality eggs from them. So just strip the leaves off. So we're actually tenderizing this kale 3 times before we put it into the salad. So our next step is that I'm going to roughly slice this. You can sort of see how much volume is taken up just with air. So we'll give this a bit of a rough chop or a rough slice. So I'm just gonna put all of this into our bowl here. We're going to put a little bit of salt on here, and we're going to use the juice of half a lemon. And we want to access all of the goodness in this kale, but sometimes it can be a little bit hard to sort of chew on. So we want to make it even more palatable. So we're going to give it a bit of a massage. And just like you would relax after that, this kale is really going to soften and you're going to see the color and texture change. So you can see that kale is about down to 1/4 volume, and it's really vibrant and green, and now it's soft. So it sort of more resembles a baby spinach texture now rather than that really hard kale that a lot of people are sort of adverse to. So we'll pop that aside. It's going to continue to soften with that lemon juice. Just want to check on my quinoa. So that's actually cooked almost through. We can start to see each of those little individual pseudo grains sort of burst open at the seam. So I'll give it another minute or so and then we'll drain it. So our quinoa is done. We've drained that. As you can see, there's a lot of steam being released. I'm just gonna set that aside before we add it all together. We're going to get our next 3 superfoods ready. So we're going to grate our lemongrass, ginger, and turmeric. Now the inside of the lemongrass is the softest part, so that's the part that we want to utilize. If you take off those little parts, those bottom parts of the lemongrass, even a little bit longer, you can replant those. So I know that you're sort of spending $2 to $3 per lemongrass at the shops. If you go to the markets, you get a little bit cheaper, but you can replant that and it will grow, which is really exciting. So if you had a really high powered food processor, you could use that at this stage. Otherwise, we're just gonna grate these really quickly so that they're a nice fine texture. And these are gonna be our main flavor bases for our chicken mince. So we've used sort of about a thumb of each of those. You can sort of see just how beautiful all of that flavor is. But the bonus is that it's not just flavor, it's so good for you. So in terms of our turmeric, we've got this beautiful antioxidant. In terms of the young ginger, it's so good for digestion and enlivening the digestive system. And the lemongrass is sort of calming, but it's also invigorating at the same time. So all of these 3, really good for your digestive system. So we're going to flavor our chicken mince with this. I'm gonna just break that up a little, and then we'll add our superfood flavors right into there. We'll see it change color and aroma if you're playing at home. So give that a little bit of a head start, breaking it all up. So if you were vegetarian, this is the only ingredient that I would recommend leaving out. You could replace it with tofu if you wished. All right, we'll put all of our beautifully grated, very aromatic flavors in there. We'll just break that up until the chicken is no longer pink and translucent. About 3 more minutes. Our chicken is just about done, and I find that mince is a really good way to make a small amount of protein go really far. So if you have fussy eaters in your house and they'll only eat something if it's got meat in it, this is a really great way to incorporate that. So I've got a zucchini here which I've just diced. I don't want to cook it all the way through. I still want it to have a little bit of bite. So maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes, we'll put that through. So again, we want to keep almost all of these ingredients in its rawest form because we know we're going to get access to their nutrient density in that form. All right, now our capsicum. If you're gonna go to all the effort of chopping and dicing all of these things so beautifully, I'd recommend making twice the amount and then having it for lunch every day. So now we've got a rainbow of colors. So in terms of how we eat with our eyes, this really is satisfying for all of our senses, mind, body, and soul. So a couple more ingredients. We've got some cayenne pepper, which is a great digestive kickstarter, and it adds a little bit of spice, a little bit of heat. So a little bit of lemon zest, and we'll add the juice as well. Now that it's almost cooked, this is sort of helping with the dressing, as much or as little as you like. I don't want to put it in too early because you would lose some of that beautiful pungency and fragrance in the aroma. So now, as I'm grating it, you can just smell the oils being released. And now we've got some honey. So this is all setting us up for the dressing. I'm going to turn the heat off. There'll be enough residual heat in there to soften that honey so that it spreads throughout all of those ingredients. Some of the liquids have been released from those veggies and it's combined with the honey and a little bit of that olive oil to begin with. So it's nice and juicy in there now, which is the base for our dressing. So I'm gonna bring over our kale and our quinoa. We're gonna toss this all through and then we can start plating up. Those colors are just so awesome. I'm already excited to eat this. Now I didn't say earlier, but the honey sort of softens the spices, if any of that you're sort of not quite used to. So it acts as a little bit of a sweetener. If you'd prefer not to add honey, you don't have to. And similarly with the spices, if you only have access to dried or ground turmeric and ginger and lemongrass, that is fine, but why not have a play with the fresh stuff? It's readily available at our markets these days. This is nearly combined, so we can start to plate up. Now again, this is perfectly fine in the refrigerator, so if you wanted to change it up each night, you can most certainly do that. So I'm just gonna sort of flatten it out a little because I want to be able to showcase these other toppings that we've got going on. We've got avocado. Now this is optional if you want to access some good fats. Again, this is one of our 13 superfoods. So I'm just gonna quarter this because it's about a serving for, oh, we might even have, oh yeah, it's nice when we can get perfect skin off like that. And we've got some Spanish onion, so a nice little sprinkling of that purple in there. If you're not a fan of raw onion, you could actually add it during the cooking process. Now we've got a whole heap of different nuts and seeds. We've got some sunflower seeds, we've got some flax seeds or linseeds, so these are a really good source of natural oils as well. We've got some pepitas. I'm gonna add a few more sesame seeds because they look so pretty, those white flecks. We've just got some almonds here. I'm just gonna roughly dice a couple of those. I still wanna be able to see the almonds, so I don't wanna break them up entirely, but because everything else can be eaten with a fork, a whole almond might be a little bit much for our diners. So we'll just set them there, and then we will serve it with another little bit of lemon. So there is our super super salad.